Hello, I'm Eric, and welcome back to another video with Dragonfly Awakening. Today we're going to be talking about being in the present moment. So hopefully you are so far familiar with the series that I'm putting out right now. They are designed in level of difficulty. So as you know, we started with beginning meditation, breath work, awareness, pranayama, and now we are moving to being in the present moment. It consists of several different components here, and it can be a little complicated, so hopefully you're quite comfortable with at least having developed a deeper awareness and self-knowledge so that we can move forward with being in the present moment. Some of the ideas you need to be familiar with are being mentally, emotionally, and energetically present. Okay, those are integral components. Those are the parts of us that get dispersed. They can all vary and intermix with each other, but I've separated them here for examples of how to isolate these ideas. These things we're going over today can require a lot of work. So if there are a lot of egoic or traumatic attachments, it could take some time to really get to the present moment. Again, it's all about becoming aware of your inner landscape. So the more you do that, the easier it is to reach this experience. So the first section, I'd like to talk to you about intellectual fragmentation. It may be easier if I give you an example of not being mentally present. So imagine, if you will, maybe you don't have to imagine, you are at work, you're very busy, cutthroat volume, you have all sorts of deadlines coming up, you have a presentation coming up on Friday. As soon as you get home, you have to go home, pick up the kids, because all three kids have 3 different sporting events after school. But as soon as you get home, your spouse is there and they say, unfortunately, we're going to need to have a talk. Okay, mental overload. I might even say emotional overload. A lot is going there. A lot is going on there. It's not just mentally, but if it's emotionally charged as well, you can become emotionally fragmented as well. The mind is trying to solve many problems, or it's simply overextended on too many things in a short period of time. It's kind of like it's taking up, the demand is too high for the bandwidth that the mind can allow at this moment. Another example of being intellectually fragmented is you're talking with a coworker about this upcoming project, and they mention something that you forgot to put into your part of the presentation, or made you wonder, am I supposed to include that? So as they're talking, your mind is going around searching, did I do this, but did they say I had to do, I don't think I have to do, I'm not even in charge. So like, even though you're having a two-way conversation with somebody, there's a lot of stuff going on around the periphery mentally. All of this is overextended bandwidth. Punctuated intellectual fragmentation is what I call it. It's punctuated because it's when those fragmented parts of yourself become more chronic from living in that constant state of mind. So to give you an example, when we are fragmented, we're going to kind of look like this. The center part is us, and our mind is preoccupied with all these things on the outside here. It is just simply not together, when in actuality we should be whole, centered, and complete, like this. Make sense? So in becoming mentally present, we want to be able to develop what is called clear seeing. This is kind of a concept you hear in the study of Buddhism. An example of being in the present moment is clear seeing. We tend to see life through shaded glasses. We have all sorts of thoughts that go through our mind, which can trigger feelings. Those feelings can then trigger emotions, thought constructs. Um, when we encounter situations, the mind tends to add tags to it, labels. There are the connotations that say this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. There's an internal process of judgment going on. All of this kind of began when we were born and we started being programmed how we are to experience the world, how the world works, and how the way we want it to work is not how it's going to work. There's a lot going involved in the mind. In becoming mentally present, we have to become aware of all the processes that the brain is undergoing at the moment. When you are able to be centered, you can be aware of what is going on, but not, your attention isn't pulled away into these different diversions of attention. Attention, again, remember, attention is focused awareness. We want to always remain in the awareness. And in the awareness, we're able to witness that I have a body, I have a mind, and everything unfolds through my experience. So clear seeing is an aspect of putting together our intellectual fragmentation into a more centered and whole being. The next component I'd like to talk to you about is emotional fragmentation. Okay, this is another example of, another section of not being present in the moment. So let's take, for example, a teenager who's living in a troubled home. There's emotional abuse going on, perhaps physical. For those years in a person's life, very frustrating, very confusing years, and life is hard at that time. You know, you're trying to make sense of the world, and then you have a very dysfunctional, abusive family at home. You don't know what to make of the world, okay? Let's say this person goes to school every day. You know, there's good integrity there. There is the intention of going to school, studying, and get good grades so that he can pass and go to college and have a better life, right? But because of the emotional abuse, he's unable to retain anything. He goes every day, he studies, he does the homework, but it just isn't clicking. Now, because of the bad grades, now at home, an intervention between school and family, now the child has to get medicated because something's wrong. Now, they're medicating something that doesn't need to be medicated. They're trying to treat a byproduct or a symptom of something that's not really there. So, the cause that's not really there. So now the student is more mentally deluded. Never says a word to anyone because that home life is all he knows. And he thinks it's normal. It sucks, yeah, but like, you don't know any different, okay? So as he gets older, the kind of adult that he becomes is one who is emotionally unavailable, emotionally unintelligent, has toxic traits, begins talking and starts getting help because he's starting to break out the shell. But it's a hard process, and it could take many years if you never even knew what was going on to begin with. So I might add a little caveat here. In situations like this, people like this often seek for spiritual refuge after experiencing a life like this. Always a good thing, but not the proper forum. The most proper place to go is through therapy and counseling to be able to develop self-awareness and untangle those emotional knots and reprogram oneself to have better opinions about oneself and how the world works, and to be able to plan a life that is intentional with positive results. Again, a lot of people go straight into spirituality. That does not have all the answers. Spirituality and mental health, they go hand in hand, but they are two very different things. Okay, please know that. So anyhow, in this example, this teenager has a punctuated emotional fragmentation. I say punctuated because these are situations, at least at this time, that become chronic. Okay, there's a lot of emotional investment in these different areas that are just constant problems. They are constantly overhanging problems. Again, this person is fragmented as opposed to being fully present in the moment. Um, when severe trauma is in place there, it can be as bad as leaving broken parts of ourselves into certain times, certain places, and with certain people too. So the emotional fragmentation can be quite complex, and it can take a lot of deep awareness. As I always say, deep awareness is required. Develop deep awareness to be able to look into your shadow, or at least have tools for yourself to help look and reach and feel into the darkness and find those things that are not serving you. A lot of emotions get stored in the body and the auric field as well when these emotions are not properly addressed. Another aspect of fragmentation, I probably should have included it under intellectual fragmentation. This is of the intellect or of the cognitive mind. And these are I call these stories. These are less severe, they're not traumatic, but they're tall tales that boost the ego, often self-limiting stories too. Okay, for example, you're too poor to be happy, or my life has never been fulfilling enough, I'll never make a fulfilling wage. There are so many things involved. We all have these things, and they're based off of past experience. But the reality is that we just honestly don't know. Because we might have had trends or patterns in our past does not necessarily mean that that is how the future is going to turn out. As one favorite quote of mine goes, take comfort in knowing that your best moments have yet to happen yet. Okay? There's a lot of option for change in the future. So letting go of stories helps free up unnecessary used mental bandwidth. Okay, being centered in the moment allows you to be fully present and to simply act on your own initiative and intuition. And without the negative feedback in the back of the head, you're not going to have that self-sabotaging curve pointing you down into the ground. That's just the mental component of it. There's usually a lot of emotional component to that as well. Going through the processes of counseling, letting go of stories, it's kind of like defragging a computer. In the old days, you used to have to defrag a hard drive. That's probably different than how computers work now these days, but it spreads a lot of yourself out. It takes time to access those if you're even there. You just don't have enough core processor memory available to experience life. And life is supposed to be intense in a positive way, and you need to be completely there, centered, in order to be able to experience that. So learn how to identify your thoughts and verify if they're actually true. In the example of the teenager above, he had to develop self-love. He had to let some people go. He had to let some self-limiting stories go. He had to forgive some people. And this kind of started to help bring him back to his center. This kind of emotional work just reorganizes everything and brings back your presence to the center of yourself. I think it's important at this moment to speak a little bit about self-love. Self-love is an extremely important and vast subject. More on that in a future video. But from using the examples I've already talked about, we can already see how finding yourself and your awareness is a key component to getting centered. Okay, when we talked about meditation and becoming aware of the vibratory field, the field of frequency that does inhabit your body, but also beyond your body, in finding that, let me back up a bit. People who have been through a lot of trauma tend to make themselves disappear. There's so little importance that they don't even understand the capacity of self-love. Okay, how do I love myself? What does that mean? I've said it myself years ago. I've heard it from others. So the self can kind of disappear, but not in a good way. So we know in psychology that a child who goes neglected or unloved doesn't necessarily stop loving that parent, but that child actually stops loving itself. Huge, huge consequences for this. There's another saying that says if your love for humanity doesn't include yourself, you got it all wrong. Okay? You are part of it. And part of that is finding it. If you've gone through a life where you've been serving others, or you've been just trying to survive and you've been in the fight or flight mode, it's hard to find yourself. I talked about this in a couple of videos of finding yourself through identification of the density that you feel through frequency. Okay? You can find your body and almost meet it for the first time. And there's a lot that goes on in that process, and I'll reference those videos down below. So it is important to find yourself after you've had traumatic experiences in your life in order to begin loving yourself again. So learn to see the body. Self-compassion. Compassion is a derivative of love, okay? So like I spoke of a minute ago, when you were in meditation and feeling through the vibratory field and finding the body, the emotions can be very intense because you're touching a surface and kind of dipping your toe in the water, the essence of your being, something that hadn't been seen in a long time. To give yourself that time to check in and say, hey, are you still alive down there? Are you okay? The emotions can be intense. Okay, you begin to see all that you went through, and you begin to have that self-compassion. This is the first step to developing self-love. You often need to forgive oneself for ignoring yourself for so long, for doing certain things that you did in a damaged state, or even just, like I said, ignoring yourself for so long. A lot is involved with digging up all these buried feelings and acknowledging them, but you can unpack them pretty quickly depending on their severity. So if you've realized that you've forgotten about your body, take a moment to check in with it. See all the weight it's been carrying emotionally, burdens, disappointments, being overdriven, the exhaustion, and on and on and on. Just take a moment to say, okay, body, or your name, okay, Eric, it's okay. I see you, I hear you now, and I feel you. You are not alone, you're not forgotten, but you are loved. Then promise yourself never to forget your body again. Make a daily routine, bringing your awareness back out of the mind into the body. Another part of fragmentation that I'd like to talk about, it ultimately does fall under intellectual fragmentation. But I call it 3D fragmentation. It's based on the fact that time does not exist. Okay, it's a part mental and conceptual fragmentation, but there can certainly be emotions attached to this as well. So as you know, when we were born, we began to take on programming of this world and how it operates and how we are to operate in it, including the limitations of our body. We're also taught how there is a past and a future. Past and a future. Okay. The past and the future only exists in the mind. If you haven't heard this concept, I'll describe it. Time is only a conceptual map to categorize events. Otherwise, everything that has happened in the now. The past and future are only conceptual tools when operating in the conceptual world. We see time as a linear construct, but only for conventional conceptualization, for convenient conceptualization of it. Little example is, I'm sure everybody has seen these little time-lapse videos of a patch of soil, and a little seedling comes out, a leaf grows, and then you get a plant, and then a flower bulb comes out, and then it blooms, and then it fades away, and then the plant eventually dies and turns back into earth. Okay, and we see that in I don't know, a short period of time, say 30 seconds. Life is the same way. Okay, life is just blossoming. Every event that happens is just blossoming, always in the present moment. Okay, you can't go to the past, you can't go to the future. Everything happens now. Okay, so nothing is passing by as we think of time on the linear fashion. Only events are unfolding and experienced in the now. If you had to conceptualize it, I'd say maybe it's kind of helpful to think of it in a linear fashion, running vertically upward. You know, there isn't anything here, there isn't anything there, but in this present moment, it's just a constant step up and up. It's an unfolding, blossoming, and on and on and on and on. Okay? You do away with what's in the mind of the peripheral on the time concept. So the past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. Okay. So the past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. Only the present moment exists. Being fully present in the moment allows you to experience all things as one in the now. I'm sure you might wonder, well, where do past lives fit in? This is a model that I give my clients when we do quantum healing hypnosis, because we go back and we look at events in the past, sometimes from this life, but often from past lives as well. We alleviate the experiences that are hampering this current life, understand the purpose for experiencing it, the lesson behind it. It's released now, okay? So, but how do past lives operate when there's no past? Again, everything happens in the moment. You are one soul in the greatest connection with the divine consciousness. All of your lives are happening at once. So there is an Eric in this current generation, this current year. I have a component that's happening right now in the 1920s. Also in 2082, there's another component in the Renaissance age or the Middle Ages. When you begin to realize that our reality is light, is energy, is consciousness, frequency, you kind of realize that you're able to, essentially time travel is possible, at least through the aspect of the soul. Okay, it's not there. The past is not there. It's here. The past is here. It's a different level, dimension, reality of experience. Okay, I'm not going to make this as convoluted as I already have. I hope that makes sense. So I'll move on to the next point. So I'd like to guide you through a little meditation that I've always found really powerful. This is a meditation to help rid your mind of the conceptual linear fashion of time. Okay, so let's go ahead, bring yourself into a meditative state where you're mentally and emotionally unplugged from all the people and places and things going on around you at the moment. You've done a little breathing, breathe in. Feel how that oxygen charges your body, how it oxygenates your blood, how it gives you vitality. Any tensions you're holding on to, let it go. Return to a nice, regular breathing. Okay, just check in with your body, make sure there's no tensions anywhere. Let the mind relax. Focus on the breath, the rising and falling of the chest, abdomen, or you can focus on your third eye. Okay, now once you've gotten to a nice place, slowly say to yourself, mentally or out loud, while really feeling the weight of these words, okay? So you can just, in this case, you can listen to my words. There are no more yesterdays. They are now gone. There are no more tomorrows. They are also gone. There's no more earlier. That's gone. There's no more later. It's also gone. There's no more recently. There's no more soon. Those two are gone. All time is now gone. There is only now. Just now. There is only this moment. From now on, only this moment exists. And I exist nowhere else. Okay. Could you feel the weight of those words? That's some heavy stuff. Did you feel how the past and present seem to kind of fall away? And just fall into now? Really feel the finality, totality of these statements, okay? You might repeat each of these sentences if you don't feel the weight of the statements. You can also repeat each sentence if you really did feel the weight of the statement. It's intense. Allow your mind to reorient itself with reality. Take your time with it and really grasp, let go of each concept of these statements. You will start to feel your awareness withdrawing from the conceptual places of time and become more centered in the center of your being in this present moment. Okay? So do this daily until you really start to feel that you are experiencing your life in the present moment. Strangely, every time I used to practice this technique, I always felt it as a death occurring each time. In fact, it is a death of the illusion of time, the illusion of yourself. In spiritual awakening, you become aware that in awakening, it is a disillusionment of many things. So it is a partial death of the egoic self and the essence of who you are. Your awareness, which is finally becoming present in your life. Okay. So I'd like to talk a little bit about being energetically fragmented. Your personal spiritual energy can also be left with other people or can be taken by them. For example, we've all heard of energetic vampires, as well as cords and attachments with people who are not helping to serve your higher path or even places where an extremely tragic event occurred. Some of your energy was also fragmented through the mental and emotional fragmentation process, but they, as I said before, they're all intertwined. You can reintegrate that energy through meditation, shadow work, doing your mental homework, or even counseling. These are all great options. You can do them all. But I have another video that's coming up soon to talk about emotional fragmentation and recalling your energy back from time, space, people, places. All right? More on that soon. So I'd like to bring you through one more meditation. This is a simple, short, sweet little meditation to help reintegrate all those things that we talked about and bringing you into the present moment. Okay? So bring yourself into a meditative state where you are fully aware of the energy in and around your body. Take a deep breath, oxygenate your blood, sharpen the mind, relax the body, let the mind relax. Open up all of your chakras by consciously visiting each one front and back with white divine light. We're going to be receiving energy back, so those doors need to be open, okay? Mentally or out loud, state to yourself, I recall all of my energy from all people, from all places, from all times, from all experiences, from all emotions, and from all thoughts. I receive and reintegrate all of my energy back into the center of my being in this present moment and ground it into place. I'll say it once again. I recall all of my energy back from all people, from all places, from all times, from all experiences, from all emotions, and from all thoughts. I receive and I reintegrate all of my energy back into the center of my being in this present moment and ground it here into place. As you are saying this, visualize all your energy fragmented, that had been fragmented, and you're bringing that back inside. Like bringing in a big hug, okay? We're bringing that back to ourselves. Okay? It is coming in from all times and places and coming back together to your center. Now, if you can feel the fullness of your being from your energetic perspective, now intensify it as if you were trying to make it glow brighter and brighter, bigger and bigger. You're not pushing it away, but you're intensifying it because you got all that mass back, right? And you're now going to be turning it up like a dimmer on a light switch, or like the faucet knob. You're just intensifying the flow, okay? So feel that place in the center where all that energy was reintegrated. Feel it, let it be. Make sure it's grounded. See it, allow it to be there, and now intensify it. You don't have to know how to, but there's a part of you that does. Just intensify that field. Growing fuller and fuller to your body. Now state, I am whole, I am complete, I am fulfilled. I'm going to say that again, that's good stuff. I am whole, I am complete, and I am fulfilled. I am an independent, sovereign individual. I am an independent, sovereign individual. Now feel the energy of the earth pulling your center together through your root chakra, grounding it in the physical world and making it permanent. Now feel the energy of the heavenly cosmos pulling center together through your crown, anchoring it in the divine and making it permanent. Stay with this state of completion for a while and gently bring yourself out of this meditation. You can ask yourself, is there anything that you could possibly need at this moment? Not a thing. You are whole and complete. Practice this daily until you experience your full being in the present moment, free from any thoughts, free from any emotions, from any concepts or timelines. The more you practice this, the more intense your being will feel, and the more intense this moment will feel. This is a reintegration process. Very important. Practice this. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. As you can see, there are a lot of components involved, and it certainly does take practice. This isn't something that usually happens instantaneously. Some people get it rather quickly, but seldom. Like I've said, we've been in these bodies for decades and lifetimes. It's hard to break that habit. Okay? But use this practice to continue practice, regaling yourself, bringing yourself back to your center, reintegrating your energy. And then the more work you do on the outside, if you've had experiences of the past that you were working with either by counselor or shadow work, so begin the process of integrating this energy now, because it will help expedite the process of your presence in the moment, which is a massive part of spiritual awakening. Okay? Eventually, when the body and the mind is clear and the fragments are reintegrated, you become acutely aware that you are a living, loving presence encompassing the body, but experiencing life integrated through the body. Okay? Staying grounded to the earth and the heavens is important to remain centered and balanced. In this lesson, I have given you a bunch of fingers, okay, or concepts of the truth. Do not mistake the finger pointing to the moon for the moon itself. Find the magic between the lines. Now it's your turn to prove it to yourself and find the truth behind these words. Remember, you are not trying to make something happen that hasn't. Okay? You are cultivating the field. You are uncovering aspects of yourself that have always been there. You are merely just trying to see them and bring them into your realization. So sit, meditate, and find the fullness of your being in this very moment. As always, much light, love, and happiness to you. There's a lot of stuff going on around the periphery mentally. So you kind of get zoned out, and yeah, it's okay.